Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to my little digital slice of the grand land of Olean. If this is your first time joining us, thanks for being here. If you're back for some more fun-tastic magic, it's good to see you. So we are continuing with Chapter 4 of our Read Aloud of Maximum Entertainment 2.0. Now, what we've been doing is we've been starting with a little bit of magic, so why don't we jump into it, and don't forget to check out Zenbuster Music for some royalty-free background music just for the funsies of it. So let's jump over here so you can see what we got going on today. This, of course, is a beautiful little card trick that I love so very much. Now, this could actually be the closer, but it's just some beautiful little magic. So here's how it works. We got the twists and turns of mystery, the oohs and ahs, and of course, the ups and downs, until it all culminates into the center of some beautiful magic. Of course, all of this is so that we may introduce the stars of the show, the 4 acrobatic jacks. They're circus clowns, really. They like to jump around and tumble. Pay close attention. 2 black, 2 red. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 jacks. As I said, they like to tumble end over end. There's a red jack for you. 3 left in the hand. Another red jack for you. But like I said, they do like to clown around, leaving the 2 red ones in the hand, the black ones on the table. Ha-cha. Now, of course, to get us started, we're going to place 1 in the middle and 1 on top. You can clearly see, maybe you can't. Where did I do with it? There it is. Clearly see it's the only one there. What? I don't know what that was all about. Either way, you can now see. Let's see. Wait a second. This was the red one or the black? Oh, so the red one is now on the outside. What is happening? Red one is on the outside, and the black one is in the middle. Let's go ahead and see if we can do that long distance. Yeah. Now they're on the opposite ends of the deck. What has happened now? What? They have both met up in the center. Still not sure what that is. Oh, that's a queen. Not sure when that got there. Anyway, now let's go ahead and come into the finale of this amazing trick. 2 black cards in the center. 2 red cards on the outside. You can clearly see the 2 red ones, leaving the 2 black ones in the middle. What? Snap the fingers, and of course they have switched places. Beautiful. Yeah, you can actually see that. The 2 black ones are on the outside, and the 2 red ones are now in the middle. Ha-ha! Fantastic. Now, of course, this trick really wouldn't work out as best as it is if the jacks did not return to where they started. Ta-da! And there you have the 4 acrobatic jacks. Absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, time for the reading. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than it usually is. I wonder why. Oh, that's right, because we have a package. What is this, you might ask? Maybe you're not. But today we have a package. Let's go ahead and get it opened up and see what it is. Like Christmas. Oh, buddies. What is this? It's a book. Maximum Entertainment 2.0 expanded and revised by Ken Weber. Wait a second. We already have one of these. Now we have 2 of them. Fresh. Spanking brand new. We're going to set that off to the side for right now. That right there, this book right here, is for the sponsored book giveaway. Yes, I've already purchased it in anticipation of being able to give it away. So please, please, please make sure that you are joining us for our super thanks and super chats so that we can raise enough money to donate that to a lucky viewer. Thank you, everybody. Now let's jump into the reading. For Chapter 4. This is the 6 pillars of entertainment success. I gotta remember to keep my posture good. Here we go. Psst. Hey, magician guy. You like secrets, don't you? You want secrets? I got them. You are about to read the true and eternal secrets of entertainment success. Okay, they're not trick secrets. These are the secrets that count, that separate the wannabes from the arrived. These are the steadfast secrets that no masked magician can expose, for the true performance secrets are just that, the secrets of theatrical performance and not the flimsy methodology of mere deception. Here is your roadmap, your can't-fail guide to success as an entertainer. Use these pillars to take the measure of your act. These pillars revealed themselves after hundreds of hours of analyzing the work of performers at the top skill levels, and specifically asking why this particular routine is successful and why other routines, sometimes offered by those same performers, fall short. Nebulous at first, the keys to entertainment success coalesced into 6 supernovas, and that's what you'll find below. All successful entertainment in our field is built upon these pillars. As you view videos of yourself and become your own director, let these tenets help you raise your level. So, once we've read through this chapter and we get through a couple more chapters, we will be doing an analyzing view of my video of my performance that I did for my Halloween party. Now, it's not great. I already know that going into it, and we want to dissect it using this method. We've already looked at it through other methods. We want to use this method. So stay tuned for that coming up in the coming days. For us as mystery entertainers, it is not enough to fool people. There must be more. The more is entertainment, and I want you to achieve maximum entertainment. Roll credits! Toward that end, I present to you the real secrets of the real work. 1. Master your craft. 2. Communicate your humanity. 3. Capture the excitement. 4. Control every moment. 5. Eliminate weak spots. 6. Build to climax. Here we go. 1. Master your craft. Once back when I was a newly hatched professional entertainer, a much older, fairly well-established magician came to see me perform. After the show, he led a few nice compliments on me, and then, seeking to pass on some wisdom from experience, he told me, "Remember, it's not what you do, it's how you do it." Well, yes and no. What he meant, and many others have said or written similar sentiments, was that the presentation of a trick overrides the trick itself. That's true, assuming you execute the trick perfectly. Now, we talked about this yesterday, I believe. We were talking about, or a plethora of videos that I've shot, but actually haven't uploaded because they're just not good enough. But we talked about the key card principle, which is the very simplistic, basic trick that you learn almost at the beginning of every single magic card trick book, right? The key card principle. But if you see some of these master crafters out there using the key card as their full act, like that's the whole deal. But the presentation sells it as something so much more powerful in the hands of the right performer. Okay, here we are. Was that the presentation? Let's see. What he meant, and many others, okay. That's true, assuming you execute the trick perfectly. Without technical proficiency, all else fails. So meaning, like, if you don't have the basics for the trick down, your presentation will fall apart because the magic is missing. Like the simplest part of what you're doing is missing, which I was just reading a newsletter from Chris Johnson, who is talking about a new trick that he's working on, a new performance piece, and he said that after working with it and working with it, if you're not familiar with Chris Johnson, that's Chris Johnson as normal. Uh, he's a longtime school performer and he's local. I've met him a couple times. Fantastic guy. He's got a he's got a grimoire coloring book, like fancy. I mean, I fell in love with this thing. I gotta get one of my own. It's expensive. It was handmade. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry. Side note there. He was talking about the methodology of a new routine that he wants to put together, but after working out the method, he found that it didn't work. I mean, it worked. I mean, he could do the trick just fine, but the problem was is that it wasn't clicking the way he needed it to. The timings were off, all this stuff was off. So he was looking for another method that would make it easier because he's one of the first people that I've ever watched that his technical level of skill is it's more magic based than it is skill based. So he's not doing any fancy moves with the cards or anything like that. He's doing magic. Like he's really presenting and performing magical acts. Objects that are magical, he's the magician and he makes this magic happen. But he's not doing anything behind the scenes that's going to require him to deviate his attention to making sure something pulls itself off. He could be across the room and make it happen. You know, things like that, which is perfectly fine. He's the first performer that I've ever seen performing magical artificer. Like he's making the magic happen as part of the show, which was very fascinating in person. I've seen stuff online and stuff. Whereas before, like I've only studied street performers who are roughing it out there every single day with props that are just making it work with a piece of rope. Like you're grounded in the technical work and you're skill monkey and thing like that, which is fine. It's just a different side of things that is really fascinating. So, without technical proficiency, all else fails. That applies to any artist, but as mastery workers, we have an added technical hurdles to surmount. The audience must be fooled. They cannot be aware of the secret something. Even those magicians whose acts revolve around failure, Valentine being the best known, still must perfectly master the timing and intricacies of their routines. I hope you don't need this book to motivate you to practice, practice, practice. Diligently practice your moves until they flow effortlessly and automatically. Then set about the job of rehearsing your stage movements and your lines. Master your script. When you're in front of strangers, the last thing you want to worry about is what to say or do next. Every word must be right word to the right moment. You practice the moves first, then you rehearse the routine, then you rehearse the entire act, start to finish. If you rehearse in disjointed pieces, you don't capture the flow of the act, and you run the risk of not noticing that certain moments don't flow smoothly into the next. Even supposedly simple things, such as opening a card box and later replacing the cards, require practice so you don't fumble around. And for just about every magician, it is important that you do your final rehearsals in the clothes you will be wearing. You don't want to be on stage when you discover that the pocket you need isn't in this suit. Study the videos of yourself. Make sure you see yourself from different angles and during different shows. Most lay people, especially in close-up situations, are too nice to tell you they saw something they shouldn't have. A coin that flashes at the wrong moment, a hand held awkwardly when a card is palmed, an untimely glance at a hidden billet, a dead bird plopping to the floor. Okay, you would notice that one. All work to deduct points from the imaginary scorecards your audience hold in their heads. One hesitates to quantify this issue, but it seems to me that perhaps 80% to 90% of all problems magicians encounter relate directly to their lack of intense and proper preparation. So I'm assuming you've put in the requisite hours reflecting the technical aspect of your performance. If not, all else in this book will be for naught. Don't be sidetracked by the way by Malcolm Gladwell's pop psych dictum that 10,000 hours of deliberate practice are needed to become world class in any field. Just Just strive to get in as much practice and as much flight time in front of audiences as you can. Remember, too, that the old adage, practice makes perfect, isn't true. Perfect practice makes perfect. So, we did a video on the 10,000 hour rule, and we can link that up above here. And it's really just a little bit of a deep dive into this idea, into not only the book or the study that came about initially, but also things that have progressed since then. And just knowing that at this point in our world, in our view of theoretics, the 10,000 hour rule is just, it's a symbolism for the time necessary to get to where you're at. Because I'll use an example of, I think I've mentioned it before. So I've been listening to Benson Boone on repeat. I get earworms, and then I just listen to like everything that they have. And his story is pretty simple, like quick cliff notes. He was 17. He happened to be asked at last minute to join the Battle of the Bands while he was in high school. He discovered a love for singing, and now he's a pop star. And that was, at this point, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He joined American Idol, had to come to the realization that maybe singing was either for him or not for him. So he decided to leave American Idol, and then 2 years later, he's performing at the Grammys. Like, you really, some people have the ability, I'd say master, but to reach an adequate level necessary to be at the forefront of your audience, at the forefront of your peers, quicker than other people. So the symbolicism, is that a word? The symbolic nature of the 10,000 hour rule is, how much time do you need to be one of the best in your circle? And your circle can be, like, if I considered my circle of magicians in where I'm at, in Olean, it's a small group. There's only a handful of people that I know of around here that do magic. One specifically that I know directly, that I've met a handful of times, but we're not, like, collaborating, which would be cool if we did a little bit more, but life, all that. But then you extend my circle to online, and I'm constantly watching and following magicians that have been doing it for 20 plus years. And those are the peers that I consider. Not because I think, okay, we got some people that have just started out in magic. Great. Though, we can work with those people. We can help those out. We can get them, Maximum Entertainment 2.0, things like that. But I'm always striving to look at the next step. Like, where are we at here, and who should we be? What level of professionalism, what level of skill, what level of everything, where are we reaching? Where are we going with all of this? And then once I get there, I find the next group. Because you constantly want to get better. When you master something, what you realize is that your journey has just begun. That's it. Once you've reached the level of master, all that means is that you now get to start truly honing your craft. Because now there's a whole other level of master. Because you figure, you've just become a master. Now you've got masters who have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years. And now you got a whole nother milestone to reach. So, back to the idea here of studying the videos of yourself. Make sure you see yourself from different angles, all the way down here, One hesitates to quantify this issue, but it seems to me we've read all that. Okay. Man and Superman. Nothing in show business comes easily. It takes hard work to look as if you're not working at all. Looking natural on stage is an unnatural act. If you let nature take its course, when you walk out in front of strangers, your pants would be moist in inappropriate places. So you put in the hours of practice to walk out with your head up and shoulders back, confident in your skills and in your knowledge of your material. In my lectures, I frequently talk about the entertainer as Superman, for I believe that's a useful analogy. During most of the day, that caped superhero strolls among the populace of Metropolis, appearing to all as nothing more than a mild-mannered reporter, a regular guy. Then, at the appropriate moment, he becomes a better version of himself. Even Clark Kent, at his core, when called upon to perform, he nonetheless demonstrates extraordinary abilities. As entertainers, we all possess extraordinary abilities, skills, and talents that other people lack. If we didn't, there would be no reason to watch us. Thinking of yourself as a version of Superman is a helpful helpful exercise. You may be a humble Superman or a flamboyant one. You may be a fast-talking Superman from a great metropolitan city, or you may have a down-home drawl. But one thing you will be is confident, sure of yourself, and secure in your abilities. You want to be similar to the folks down front, but with a few special abilities and skills that flow effortlessly from you. That's why you must practice thoroughly, if not compulsively. People don't want to see themselves on stage, at least not ordinary versions of themselves. They want to see Superman or Superwoman. They want to believe in the potential of a Superman. The more thoroughly prepared you are, the easier it becomes to project an air of invincibility. Also, you can be most relaxed when you can turn on your internal cruise control. Only then can you steer up your act to unexplored territory. Only then can you confidently interact spontaneously with your audiences. Work at your craft, make yourself invincible. In the chapter on choosing material, we'll look at how to narrow down your choices to the best tricks for you. Once you find them, practice them diligently. Do a few things extraordinarily well. Most magicians do an extraordinary number of things poorly. Achieving your own level of artistic integrity requires fluency of technique, for only then will you be free to express originality. And the degree of fluency of technical mastery is certain words inextricably linked to the time and effort spent in practicing moves and rehearsing the full routine. This is not a handbook for conjuring technique. For that, you will embrace the best of magic volumes, videos, lecturers, teachers, and mentors. From them, you will learn how to misdirect, how to change the moment, how to perform jazz magic everywhere and anywhere, and practice it all, performance technique and trick technique, with care and passion. The road less traveled. As a final comment on mastering your craft, let me share a thought from the For Mentalist Only website of my late and brilliant friend Bob Cassidy. In this excerpt, he examines the merits of using a deck stack that requires a quick calculation versus using mnemonics to memorize the position of every card. But the calculation is easy, you might reply, and it may well be easy. The problem is that the calculation may suddenly become very difficult if you try to do it while interacting with the audience. Of course, you can just stand there and stare up in the air for a second while everyone wonders if you are having a stroke, thus adding some unexpected drama to your act. Or you can come to the realization that the hard way is actually the easy way, and besides, the calculation stack is a one-trick pony. When you learn how to memorize a deck of cards, you automatically learn to memorize just about anything else. Now disregard, momentarily at least, the calculation versus mnemonics argument. They both have merit. Did one line jump out at you? One sentence stopped me cold. Or you can come to the realization that the hard way is actually the easy way. That brilliant insight applies to life and entertainment. The easy way leads to short-term gains, but rarely long-term success. The most successful performers of my acquaintance consciously and conscientiously took the hard way, for that will be what separates them from the herd. They are not frightened by solitary hours of study and development, followed by years of practice and rehearsal. Rather, they thrive on it. They understand that seeking the easy way is the path taken by the majority, and if you are buried among the majority, consigned to mediocrity or worse, accepting mediocrity, you can never be exceptional. The hard way becomes the easy way as distractions evaporate in the heat of self-imposed focus. And the easy way, the frittering from one trick to the next before mastery is achieved, becomes hard as it continually leads to false starts and unfulfilled expectations. Which path will you take? So before we move into Communicate Your Humanity, let's go ahead and show you something that like what it's referring to. Now, this is something that I'll do as part of my routine for a little bit of cardistry, but just showing you a little bit of skill. So this is level 1, the Charlier cut. Fairly simple. Level 2 is a Revolution cut. And then you can jump all the way up to level 10. And you know what this is called? Let's try that again. Sometimes the older cards, but we can get it. Just gotta get it to work in there. Typically, if that works, the easier this looks, the better. But this is like level 10. You know what this is called? Showing off, right? So it's a little bit of a joke, but that's also the one-handed riffle shuffle is considered one of the hardest one-handed moves. Now, I've seen a bunch of stuff now that I consider harder, but that's only because I have been doing this for a long time, and it took me a long time. Very similarly, I don't know if it'll work from this angle, but this is, here, let's switch back over real quick, give us a little bit of a break from that moment there, so we can do this. This is a move that we did recently on the channel that is probably, it is the hardest thing that we've had to learn. And it is, you know, it's a hard move. So if you want to learn this, I had learned it, like I said, I learned it from somebody, I don't even know who it was. It was just online years and years. We're talking 8-9 years ago. I saw it and didn't even know what it was at the time. And then now, oh, wait a second, that's the joke. Oh, I get you. This is, there it is. Okay, perfect. So that's, you know, that's it's a shift, really. And if you want to learn it, I will put the link up above here. I won't mention the name here, but you'll learn it from Jason Marr, who revitalized my interest when I saw him do the tutorial. It was like a year or two ago now when he did it. But I was like, wait a minute. I know that move. I tried to learn it, and I failed miserably. And I tried it and tried it and tried it for months, and it just wouldn't click. Then Jason revitalized that interest in it, and I got 1% better at it than I was before. So I have been doing it and doing it and doing it. And now I could probably do it, depending on the day and my hands and the cards, probably do it about 50% of the time. It's still pretty solid. Even there, I did it 2 or 3 times, and I messed up once. Like that's, there's a little bit of a flash and all that, but it's still it's very difficult move to do. So you saw it here first, folks. Not really, because I just did it on the channel the other day. Anyway, jumping back over here, and we're going to continue with Communicate Your Humanity. Now let's go ahead and take a look. How long is this chapter? Wowzers. This one might be one of those that we have to break up into multiple days. And I think, how long have we been on here right now? Just checking. We're half hour into it. We don't want to go much over an hour for these, but we're going to keep going. We got another half hour, so let's go ahead and get going here. After we're done with this section, we're going to do some wall push-ups and get some flowing going. Okay. Communicate your humanity. Oh, the humanity. Work to establish rapport with your audience immediately. You are a stranger to them, and their moms told them to be weary of strangers. Let them know that we're in this together, and together we're going to transcend your workday lives. Once you manage to build a strong and empathetic bond with your audience, you can make the dumbest mistakes, crazy external fool-ups can befall you, and your audience will still be on your side wanting to see you succeed. The likable performer always performs with a sterling advantage, an extra level of goodwill. Heckler stopper lines become unnecessary because without prompting from you, audience members themselves will shush the uninvited participants. Woe to the performer who fails to build rapport with the folks out front. For him, the audience will exit mentally, if not physically, at the first sign of weakness. This applies equally to all entertainers. Here's what New York Times theater critic Alexandra Stanley had to say in her May 6th 2003 review of comedian Bill Maher's Broadway show. Bill Maher? Yeah. Mr. Maher is clever and provocative, but he is no Oscar Wilde. Behind his riffs, there is a self-righteous tone that makes him hard to like. And successful live performance usually requires a secret lovability. Secret lovability, a performer may project a gruff exterior, yet if somehow the audience feels a human connection, they look past the outer layer. Consider the success of insult comedian Don Rickles. Further on, Miss Stanley writes, Mayor's body language is defiant, not welcoming. It's all part of a total package. Your words, your body language, your attitude. This advice has passed from Nate Lipzig to Di Vernon to all. If they like you, they will like what you do. It's certainly true, now and forever, that a charismatic person in politics, sales, or show business starts with a leg up on the competition. In this section, we'll look at the things you can do to boost your likability quotient. That said, however, I also believe that communicating your humanity, exposing who you are as a person, supersedes or at least precedes likability. We empathize with many a movie villain, Michael Corleone of The Godfather, Carleone, the Godfather films is one classic example, but we never like him. In either case, hero or villain, the entertainment score ratchets up when we connect on a human level with the person we're watching. How might you communicate humanity? Here are several techniques. Give them a smile. Smiles, the first and easiest way to communicate humanity, require no rehearsal and cost nothing. So fling them about with abandon. A smile says you feel comfortable being in front of us. It radiates confidence and friendliness. An unsmiling performer had better have an excellent reason for the look on his face, because he's not communicating his connection with the audience members. He'll be seen as cold and standoffish. A sincere smile transcends language, age, race, and cultural differences. It's the universally understood message of friendliness. If I'm happy to be here with you, or yeah, that's what you're saying with your smile. I'm happy to be here with you. Here's a trick I use. Just before I walk out on stage, I say something funny to someone backstage. Actually, it's not always truly funny. It may just be silly or friendly. The words don't matter. The goal is to put a smile on my face. That's the face I want the audience to see first. I don't want to expose my nervousness or my preoccupation with the new bit I'm still developing. Using this smile trick is not only places the look I want upon my countenance, it also helps relax me. There's likely a good psychological reason for this. Physiological. But smiling sends a calming message to the rest of my body. It will for you too. B. Tell him a story. David Copperfield, amongst all the trappings of a weighty mega stage show, tells stories, some of which, I'm sorry to tell you, may not be completely true. Exclamation point! About growing up, about his family, and sometimes about his fears. If he didn't do that, he'd be subsumed, as are so many other illusionists, by his own props, dancers, glitter, and music, and we'd have no sense of who this guy is. You and others in our field may have tired of his borderline sappy narratives, but I would rather see him take that risk than see him mask himself behind the music and scenery and the dancers and the tricks. Copperfield understands that illusionists especially must strive to communicate a human personality, lest they become nothing more than animated props in their own shows. But as with anything else, there are stories and there are stories. Every story you tell must have as its goal one of the big three reactions. A story becomes counterproductive if it meanders or fails to communicate something sufficient or significant. Edit your stories the way a writer would, scrutinizing each word, questioning whether it hits a specific targeted reaction. Consider with care where you are headed. Into which category do your words fall? Funny, sad, fascinating. Anecdotes from your life humanize you, but be certain that they have impact. Also, think carefully about where in your program you place those stories. I've seen a number of pros lay heavy personal info on us within the first 5 minutes of their much longer programs. That's a mistake. We won't care about any of that until we have developed some sense of who you are and what you do. So, as a side note to that, right now, at this very moment, I am performing for you. I'm reading out of this book and I'm taking segments as I read them and I elongate them and I posturate for you. I share something from my own life as examples. And as I look through this, I have to make sure that the stories that I'm sidebarring with stay on track and that I can return to the material and that everything that I say has meaning and purpose. Even right now, as I say this, it should be understood that that's what I strive for, is I try to use real-world examples from the context to give you an idea of what that would look like in the wild. So, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. C, don't forget to subscribe, because it really does help out the channel. Acknowledge your surroundings, at the very least. Somebody's calling me on my phone. Every day people's calling me on my phone, and I don't like it. I don't have my phone to get phone calls. I get to play games. Acknowledge your surroundings. At the very least, a few early words along the lines of, "It's nice to be here in the beautiful town of Detroit, Vista Hills," or "Thanks for inviting me to be part of the Who's Your Daddy sales and marketing roundup," sends the message that you're doing more than pressing play on your mental tape recorder. This is actually a quick point to Benson Boone that I had mentioned earlier. At the end of his song, when he's performing Beautiful Things, he doesn't always do this, but there's a section during the last line where he slows down his pace and he says, "I need these beautiful things that I got." But he says, "I need," and then he'll sing wherever he's at, whether it was the Grammys, whether it's which is that example, but he's on tour and he'll do the same thing and he'll interject where he's performing and then finish out the song. It's a beautiful moment. You see comedians do it when they're up on the stage. I am from Olean, so I've interjected. I love this line that I put together, which I actually came up with while walking around the carnival. Because you hear these hawkers, you hear the guys at the games yelling about, "Here's what we're at, here's what we're doing, come play Step Right Up, Step Right Up." So I say, "Welcome to the grand land of Olean." And that's kind of where I got that from. So you got to find it where you got it, right? So, if appropriate, consider mentioning the physical environment. What amazing portraits. Are any of those folks here tonight? I know it's a bit cool in the auditorium today, but together we're going to heat this joint up. It's always been my dream to perform in a leaky tent. Alternatively, mention something in the news of that day, something not depressing. Hey, the Mets won 2 in a row. Acknowledge the audience. Canadian mentalist Jacine Dixon, writing in the PEA journal Vibrations, pointed out that if you can say anything about well-known individuals in the audience, or even something regarding the audience as a whole, you bank extra goodwill points. They want to hear about them, she wrote, and that's spot on. Which, of course, is why so many rock bands shout, "How you doing, Dayton?" And the crowd goes wild. See, that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So, at the very least, if there's nothing else specific about the attendees, you can always throw in a mention of the locale. It gives them a shared sense of community while also helping to connect you to the audience. React and respond. During the show, look for opportunities to signal that I'm here for you. I'm here today doing this show, which is different from any other show I have ever done or will do. Stuff happens. Use it to your benefit. If everyone hears a loud noise during a show and you ignore it, you seem artificial, removed from the reality of the moment. If a waiter trips, a light explodes, or a backdrop drops, acknowledge it in some way. Your reaction may be quick and superficial, but any reaction usually is better than none. Yes, sometimes you will be at a moment in the show when any deviation from your usual script will detract from the effect. Those moments are fewer than you imagine, and you will need to make that decision on a case by case basis. In most situations, you will be better served by turning the disruption into an advantage. No one mastered this better than Uri Geller. No matter what happens, he apologized for it, implying that once in a while, his powers just get away from him. So I'll use an example that I heard yesterday. We had some storms here in the area, and there was a school play going on, and the parent who was at the performance, the power went out, and he he said he's like nobody missed a beat. All of the kids on stage didn't even they noticed clearly there was no power, no lights, nothing. But he said he's like their lines just continued flowing because that's didn't matter. It didn't matter that there was no lights. Their play was still the show must go on. But that's the adage. But it's because of what we're talking about right here is that part of this is acknowledging things going on around you, but it's also in part of the fact that they have practiced it so much, going back to some of the earlier stuff, that even with the environment changing, they still knew exactly what was happening next, regardless of whether they could see or not. You could still see them kind of move around and shuffle, but they figured it out, and then the power came back on a little bit. But it was just one of those things that it's interesting here to see how when you're in a live performance like that, they just keep going, and it was fine. Uh, but it's interesting to see the other side of that, where um, Jimmy Carr shows up in my feed a lot, and he does the heckle thing where if somebody says something from the audience, he responds. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes he just claps his hands because he acknowledges it. And so there's a couple of other people that I watch that do that interaction with the audience. Like that's their main show. Like that's all they do. They have a script that they follow, but then they'll do a segment where it's all about interacting with the audience and on a fun level most of the time. So it's really good to know your script so well that you can go off script if needed. On the other hand, a sneeze in the audience, a coughing spell, people rudely talking, these are examples of distractions that usually affect the performer more than the audience as a whole, and in most cases, you're better served by not disrupting the flow of your show. I've seen too many performers stop and comment on something that I barely perceived. The rule of thumb here is to acknowledge only those noises or incidents that are seen or heard by at least half of the audience. Reveal your humanity with emotions. In my college acting classes, we were continually urged to stay in the moment. The actor internally must experience what he seeks to project externally. All successful performing artists must do the same. If we want to project surprise, we must feel surprised. Similarly, for wonder, frustration, that wasn't your card, glee, trepidation, and so on. Do you foreign interest in your act moment by moment, or do you truly feel within your core the emotions inherent in your words and actions? Robert Houdin's words from the dusty past remain true. We are actors playing the role of real magicians. An acting class or two, along with reading up on acting technique, will surely enhance your ability to communicate your techniques. Where are we at? Got distracted. Ability to communicate will surely enhance your ability to communicate your feelings. When I was in high school, I was the youngest member of a community theater group. That experience exposed me for the first time to the techniques of the theatrical director, and it forced me to understand that one cannot simply read lines and move around the stage, avoiding bumping into the scenery and other players. Acting requires significant mental preparation and physical rehearsal. More than non actors realize, the ability to reveal emotions, true emotions, is an ability lacking in too many magicians. You need to reveal a part of who you are, and you do that by letting us glimpse your innards, Your emotions, acting classes, and involvement in theatrical production help achieve that goal. You can also reveal your humanity through emotions by sharing that which stirs you. Siegfried and Roy continually talk about the magic and mystery of life. They worked hard to show us, amidst their glittering production numbers, who they are as people, what their individual passions are, and that allowed their show to become about much more than simply the magic. They wanted you to feel you have glimpsed the two stars as separate human beings. You grasp Siegfried's thrill in overcoming the impossible, and you viscerally appreciate Roy's love for the animals in the show. Is there something in your act that relates to an emotion, a passion in your life? Can you figure out a way to share it? In Doug Henning's case, he brilliantly communicated his passion for the magic itself. Performers who expose something of their inner being, who share more than a series of tricks and jokes, connect with audiences far more strongly than those who don't. Maintain eye contact. Think about your own experiences in an audience when the performer looks directly at you. When the performer looks directly at you, you feel drawn into the show more strongly than you were just moments before. Eye contact is universal. We all succumb to its power, and we all feel snubbed when we don't get it. As an audience member, I understand that you cannot gaze solely at me, but I also want you to look in my direction now and then. The basic guidelines for eye contact are: try never to utter one word unless you are looking at a pair of eyes. If the lights are bright in your eyes and all you see is darkness, you have to imagine seeing those eyes out there. You must look out into the void as if you really are talking to people you can see. Otherwise, the folks in the back feel cut off from you. Got distracted. Okay, here we go. It's bullet points. Don't lock on any one person for more than a second or two unless you have a specific reason to do so. Don't mumble anything while looking at your props. Talk to people, not things. Certified 100% natural. The late Marcello Truzzi, magician, recanteur, respected university scholar and researcher, and great friend of the Psychic Entertainers Association, told me this story. A guy goes into an agent's office with an elephant. Have I got an act for you? Exclamation point! This elephant does the greatest act you'll ever see. Another exclamation point! Yeah, that's what they all say. What's he do? Impressions. Best you've ever seen. And sure enough, the Pachyderm does James Cagney and Gary Grant and Jimmy Stewart and on. And they're all pretty good. So what do you think? Says the anxious owner. The agent says, let me talk to the elephant alone. When the owner leaves the room and the agent walks up to the side of the elephant, tenderly puts his arm way up on the elephant's neck and quietly says into his great big floppy ears, Kid, I like you, but I got 2 words of advice. Be yourself! Exclamation point! Trust me, when Marcello told the story, it was hilarious. But whether reading it on paper made you smile or not, the lesson holds true. Artificiality in front of an audience rarely pays off. Yet one of the most common mistakes we see is the performer who acts unnaturally. He or she tries too hard to ingratiate or to appear dramatic, funny, or clever. Movements become exaggerated, speech patterns sound artificial, and the audience quickly picks up on it. You communicate your humanity by being yourself. With rare exceptions, the most successful performers present themselves on stage polished, confident versions of their offstage selves. Often, this move away from the naturalness begins as an attempt, conscious or otherwise, to mimic another performer. Thus, when Criskin was appearing on all the TV talk shows, young mentalists apped his routines and, far worse, his sometimes mangled speech patterns. Copperfield inspired legions of smoldering, lovesick puppy magicians, and now we see the David Blaine knockoffs, accosting innocent park dwellers and street people with "Want to see something cool?" I saw a stark real-life example of his common failing at a magic convention a few years ago. The performer in question, a full-time professional, did what I would rate as an adequate 20-minute stage show. But the following morning, during his lecture, his real self showed up, and it was an instantly recognizable improvement! Exclamation point. This performer had layered his stage act with artificiality. He postured and preened and feigned involvement with the mystery and magic. His act was no better or worse than we typically see at conventions, and it was reasonably well received by a majority of the audience. During the lecture, however, he relaxed. Gone were the stage movements and hyperactive oomph from the night before. He just talked, and with no obvious "I am in my entertainment mode" theatrics. Instead, now he spoke to us with sincere passion about his particular speciality. He shared some brilliant insights, and he glowed in the enthusiastic response he received from the lecture attendees. And when he brought a woman up on stage to participate in the demonstration, he treated her warmly and with charm. The previous night he pushed and shoved and ordered his volunteers around. I would not have given much more thought to his act had I not seen the lecture, but the contrast between the two performances was a bit of a shock, and it served as a great lesson. When we in the lecture audience had a chance to see the real man behind the curtain, we saw unadulterated talent, intelligence, and even better, we saw an immensely likable human being with whom we could connect. His challenge and yours is to blast away everything that puts a wall between those of us and your audience, and the best qualities of your inner being, your polished version of yourself. Looking again at Criskin, Copperfield, and Blaine, when you see them being interviewed on talk shows, especially the more informal ones, what you see are personalities remarkably similar to the ones you see when they are performing their practice routines, and I believe that to be a major factor in the phenomenal success they have each achieved. The exception to this, of course, is the performer playing a character. In that case, you have to communicate the humanity of that character, and you must do it by staying solidly faithful to the personality and traits of that character. You cannot go back and forth between your normal personality and, say, a riverboat gambler, a clown, or, as in the case of a Cardini's iconic act, a slightly inebriated aristocrat. Overwhelmingly, however, magicians and mentalists play themselves as they demonstrate amazing things, and for them, the strong advice to be yourself applies. All theater is based on something artificial. Our task as mystery workers is to present only the necessary artificial moments and to hang those moments on the most natural framework. Say, young fella, aren't you one of us? An observation here about Max Maven. In the 1970s and 80s, I expect and wanted Max to replace Criskin as the leading mentalist in America. He had and still has all the tools: a vast and deep knowledge of magic and mentalism, a solid grounding in theatrical technique, and an abiding passion for the art form. Plus, unlike Criskin, Max placed himself fully into the magic and mentalism community. Criskin rarely acknowledged, even when face to face with other performers, any kinship. So I was pulling for Max to become the face of American mentalism. Yet Max never had the breakthrough with the public that I thought was his for the taking, although he did rise, deservedly so, to the top ranks within the magic and mentalism community. Max Maven, as a mentalist performing before a lay audience, having no idea who this guy is, fulfilled all the pillars of entertainment success except this one. Instead of communicating his humanity, he explicitly conveyed his separateness from the rest of us. With his Dracula reminiscent makeup and haughty bearing, he set out a message that he is not one of us, not a standard issue man who happened to develop a few extraordinary skills, and over the long run I believe it worked against him. Update: in the years since I wrote those words, and apparently for some time prior, Max softened considerably. These days he delivers more humor. I look like this all the time, in a more relaxed manner. And yes, much more of his humanity comes through. He's a friend. He's still a major force in magic and mentalism, and I wish only the best. Chris Angel started his career wearing darkly sinister makeup, yet when I saw him at a small New York theater, despite the goth get-up, he came across as a likable young man. Then he went through his Mind Freak stage and he turned up the freak quotient. It worked for his TV show, but less so in his Las Vegas performances. Then when I saw him in late 2018, he'd become a stage amalgam of freak and guy next door, whatever. His fans loved him. Mark Salem, arguably the most successful American mentalist of recent decades, derives specifically by communicating his humanity. His mind game show his mind game show has been a smash hit, with extended runs in, among other places, New York, London, Toronto, Montreal, Edinburgh, and Sydney. His reviews from the mainstream theatrical press, not magic publications, are consistently raves, and in many of these reviews, the writer took space to elaborate on Mark's rapport with the audience. His friendly, approachable manner, along with his ability to wrest laughs from just about anything thrown his way. While his technique as a mentalist is flawless, clearly it's his humanity that wins him fans among those most difficult to please, professional theater critics. The bottom line here is that choosing to play a character is fine as long as it doesn't hide your humanity and thus work against your ultimate goal of entertaining your audience. Your audience wants you. You have secrets that have nothing to do with magic or mentalism. They are the secrets that make you you. That makes you unique. Anyone can show me a trick with a prop, but only you can inject a scintilla of your life history with that trick. You start your program as a blank slate. At the conclusion of your performance, do we know the person manipulating the prompts? Reveal yourself, but make it real. An audience senses pretense the way a dog sniffs contraband. It's a natural ability heightened by experience. A fuller version of you will always be a more interesting version than that blank slate. To sum up this section, you communicate your humanity by answering the question, who are you? Tell me. Show me. Only then can I trust you to take me into your world. So section 3 is capture the excitement, and we're just under 4 minutes for an hour. We're going to go ahead and stretch. Oh, get that stretch going. Whew. Okay, we're going to do these wall push-ups, but today we're going to do them a little bit slower because we really want to get that blood just ready to go with the tension and breathe through it, because we just want to make sure that we're getting that blood flowing as we're stretching into the motion. If you do a wall push-up, that's fine. If you do a regular push-up, that's fine. Whatever exercise you're doing, we just want to extend within our range so we're not overstretching, but we're just getting those tendons that have been sitting for a while, especially in your neck, right? Because when we do any sort of activities on our phones or our laptops and stuff, sometimes we forget about movement of our neck, and we stay in the same spot for a long period of time. So we just want to make sure that blood is flowing, make sure our tendons are getting that stretch that we're not usually getting when we're sitting still. And of course, we want to take those deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouth, and just keep that stretch going into that exercise. We're not trying to really go for any sort of max or any sort of tension here. We're doing tension release, not tension buildup here. So we're just kind of cooling down, working out that muscle and that limbs that have been taut from sitting, and getting that good stretch in however we can, with whatever range of motion we're doing. Then don't forget to shake it out. Very good. Now, we are on section 3. Let me take a look to see how long this section is, because I don't want these to be too long for you guys, because we don't have that kind of time in our lives. You know what I'm saying? We're just here to get this book read for you. That's 5, 4. Okay, so this one is, we're going to do half and half. So this is going to be section 1 of chapter 4. Then we'll come back and do the other 3 tomorrow. So let's go ahead and read pillar number 3, which is capture the excitement. Incredible but true, too many magicians forget or overlook the beating heart of the conjuring act. That's why in this section I ask you, what's special? What's special about this trick? What's special about the climax of this routine? Often magicians whiz right through the key elements of the routine, and the audience is more perplexed than entertained. Melbourne Christopher noted magical historian and prolific author, knew everything about magic except how to present it. In its October 2002 issue, Jeannie ran a review of a video, The Melbourne Christopher Memorial, Volume 1. Here's an excerpt from that column written by Joe M. Turner. Another great sequence follows in which Mr. Christopher follows the old style of performing trick after trick after trick in almost blinding speed. A flash of fire and a cane becomes two silks. The silks are transformed into a botania. The billiard ball manipulates and productions are so fast that you barely have time to figure out what he's doing before he's on to the next trick. Catching birds in a net. The birds are promptly vanished in a tearaway box, and a lady jumps out of a dollhouse to finish the sequence. We've all seen acts like that, and acts like that are why, for decades, magic stayed firmly affixed to the bottom rung of the show business ladder. What's special within this act? A blur of great magic is still just a blur. The act described above was a blur of weak magic or strong magic made weak. Christopher was influenced by his predecessors, and he in turn was emulated by thousands. What is the essence of our act of magic? It's the excitement of doing impossible things. You must show that excitement to your audience. If you hold a billiard ball in your otherwise empty hand, it is impossible for another ball to suddenly appear. Absolutely, by the commonly accepted laws of nature, impossible if you are by some unknown means cause a second ball to materialize. That's miraculous. An observer should be thinking, "It can't be!" Exclamation point. You made something from nothing. Another exclamation point. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Yet another exclamation point. But wait. Now there's a third ball and a fourth, and now they're changing color, and now there are only 3 again, and now there are 8. I guess what I thought was impossible is possible. In fact, look at those balls come and go. It must be easy. I don't know how it's happening, but it sure seems easy for him. The billiard ball manipulation and productions are so fast that you barely have time to figure out what he's doing before he's on to the next trick. A blur. Nothing memorable, and nothing will be remembered a day later. Capture the excitement. Show me the difficulty. Explain in words or gestures why the magic part of your trick is magic. Not a puzzle, not a science experiment, not juggling, but magic. Do you throw away the strong moments of your act? You may, because the strong moments have become mundane to you. After years of hanging around your other magicians, after having performed your favorite tricks hundreds of times, it's understandable that you may no longer see the magic in your act. Fight that tendency. Look at Kruskin, Copperfield, and Blaine. Everything they do is special. They rarely toss out the quick comic aside, mea culpa, that's a line of attack near and dear to my own performing style. They believe that what they are about to show you is beyond belief. In many cases, it appears to be beyond even what they can believe. You can be sure about this. Anything you treat as trivial will receive a trivial response. Did the pen pass through the dollar bill? How do you react? With a smirk, a smile, a look of wonder, a look of relief that it happened? Your reaction to the moment steers the audience's reaction. Remember, in most cases, your onlookers are seeing something for the first time in their lives. Strange as it may seem to us, they need you to help them appreciate your skills. Let me explain. Can you juggle? If you can, you know that juggling 3 rubber balls brings smiles, but juggling 3 chainsaws elicits applause. Juggling 3 chainsaws while they are running brings gasps followed by applause. The audience understands, without any help from the performer, that the latter stunt carries a great degree of difficulty and danger, and they reward the mountebank accordingly. But when watching a magician, the audience has no reliable frame of reference for difficulty, which is the more impossible reaching into the air and producing a coin, or bending a spoon by lightly touching it. There can be no answer, for each defies logic and physics. The miser's dream effect can be achieved with pure manual dexterity, while magic catalogs offer a multitude of devices to accomplish the same feat, as perceived by the audience with little or no sleight of hand required. Which production of money from nothing is better, the pure or the mechanical method? Obviously, it depends on the performer's style and the entire framework on which the routine is hung. A spectator has no way of giving credit or deducting approval for either method. Put another way, the spectators have no way of knowing that any particular moment of your show is special unless you tell them. I'm going to jump over real quick just to double check to make sure that my music is still playing here. Yeah, okay. Zenbuster music. It's great for background music. It's royalty free. Let's see here. Put another way, the spectators have no way of knowing that any particular moment of your show is special unless you tell them. Kruskin has understood and exploited this insight from the earliest days of his career. When he performs the linking of 3 borrowed finger rings, he tells the audience in several different ways that what they are about to witness is unique, and he will probably take the secret to his grave. And who among the lay people watching can question his statements? Outrageously as they may be 2 magicians, his version of the trick is special because the very fact that he tells them it's special. Many magicians perform this routine. Few make it into a theater-filling moment of high drama. Most magicians reduce it to a good trick at best, but goofy. Oddball Mystic K elevates it into extraordinary occurrence that some witness recall years afterward. On the other hand, the more trivial the trick, the more you must increase the entertainment value of the surrounding routine. I love seeing or reading about performers who wring solid entertainment from the simplest Robin's Easy Magic catalog type tricks. It's done every day. Shopping mall Svengali deck hawkers draw in the crowds doing feats that we all know can be learned technically in minutes. Because their machine gun patter makes it impossible to look away, they make simple tricks exciting. Which parts of your routines are trivial? Which stand out and will be remembered a week later? Something special happens in every magic trick. Find it. Emphasize it. Why should I spend a slice of my life watching you? Beautiful. So that's going to end on 74. Control every moment. We are over an hour. But here's where I want to end today. I want to try to encapsulate what it is that it's talking about. So I don't know if I can do it. We're gonna try it first with this camera, and then if not, we're gonna go to this one. So here's what I have: 2 coins, and this is a magical moment that makes it look like that coin has vanished from here. But simply by changing it like that, it is now different. You can even do that in one hand if you wanted to make it appear as if it's changing. So once again, over to here. Not sure why that happened. And then this is where it exposes the trick from the top view. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump over to the other view so you can see it a little bit better. It would be better to see it from both angles if you wanted to learn it. But here's what it's going to look like. So this is my 2-for-1. So you know there's 2 coins. It's more of a learning exercise than it is something that you might perform unless people are interested in that type of thing. You have 2 distinct coins. You simply want one coin to vanish, never to be seen or heard from again. That coin is gone. Ha-cha, right? Now as you come across, you show the coin is here, it now changes. Now here's a deceptive part that I like. This isn't normally the pattern that I would use, but that coin is constantly just going to change. Oh, I dropped it. And you really want it to look like you dropped it, right? That's really the important part there because it's part of the switch. Now, here's the pattern that I like to use for this next part. You have to be very careful with this next part because you might even fool yourself. You see the coin in the hand is this coin. Okay? Now, as we get a little bit closer, this part you might even fool yourself. You see that coin until the last minute. Yeah, the last minute, and then you're simply going to reach into the hand and pull out the other coin. So you got to be careful because you might even fool yourself. And in that moment of freezing, even though the rest of it's been kind of fast, and now that coin is gone, And then you simply drop it into the hand. And it's changed once again to this coin. Now, this would be the coin, if you started with a single phase routine, this is the coin you would end with. Whatever your coin is that you prefer, that's the one you're going to end with. And here is a single coin. Now you can vanish that coin however you see fit. For instance, I like to drop it into this hand here, and then it gone from here, and then of course it returns over to here. Oh, I didn't quite get it where I needed it to be. Make it return over to here. It just jumps back around, and then now it's going to be gone completely. And that's you can drop it into your pockets and stuff like that. But that's the 2-for-1, and the idea there is the build-up. And what they're talking about here, just to finalize what we were talking about for the 6 pillars, master your craft. So basically, the purpose of this exercise I got from Rick Holcomb was to create a circular effect that you can start and finish in the same place. It's a loop. It's a circle. Then communicating your humanity, basically, I'm not making a challenge in the sense like I tell them, this is a 2-for-1. I am a magician. I have 2 coins, and I'm making it a puzzle. So I don't know if I want that. Like, if this is 4 magicians, we're kind of going through it in our head using this idea here. Is it more powerful to say we're going to make 2 coins look like 1? Now, I'm trying to take it away from a puzzle, like, hey, let's see if you can catch what I'm doing. No, really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say this is what it would look like if a magician could do real magic. I'm telling you how I'm doing it, but then I show you through skill how I can make 1 coin appear, 2 coins appear as 1. Communicating that humanity, the way that I would do that is by expressing to them that what I'm doing is maybe it's not in there. Maybe that's a piece that's missing. Capture the excitement. So basically, I have this rapid fire switching that happens initially, and then at the end I have this slow pace moment where I say this is where the hard stuff is happening. And I even fool myself, right? Because I'm like amping up the energy there. And then when I end, what I have determined is I get rid of one of the coins as best as I can in that moment. Because at that point, they think that there's 2 coins when there's actually 1. So that's the objective there. Maybe there's not enough time in that moment. So I want to build up that tension here in this moment where I have the coins separate into 2 hands after I've dropped it and caught it over here. So when I do my shuttle pass and then I do a hand wash to show this coin here, as I turn over here, this is the part you have to watch because I even fool myself. And you really slowed it down, and they're expecting you switch the coin somewhere, and maybe you're going to make the other coin appear here, or that the other coin should be in that hand because you've deceptively hid it behind this hand. And when you open it, there should be a moment where they're like, wait a minute, where's the other coin? Because they can see in your hand. And then that's when you do another drop pass here. And that's going to get this coin, but you're not going to expose it right away like you were. Because remember, you're in slow pace mode. This coin is controlled into the finger palm, so it's safe for the second. You can even open your hand up like this. And then this is where I recommend maybe coming up like this. And if you have a pocket here, just enough to cover, drop that into your pocket, but keeping your hand in that concealing way. Not that you're trying to act as if you have a coin in your hand still, but so that it looks natural, because that's the way you've had your hand the entire time. So then when you can ask, what coin is in the hand? And that's going to be the coin that should have been in your hand initially. Now what you can do here at the end is you can go right back into that routine where you're going to change it, place it into the hand, and then now it's here, and you've got all the time in the world. You're like, okay, well. So, as we come into the finale, let's take that coin one last time and simply shake it out of existence. And the reason why I like that, this idea comes from Craig Petty, is the idea for my coin routine is you start with a single coin. Whatever coin is going to be your main coin, you're going to do a whole single coin routine with it, potentially separate and different from that last routine that I just did there. Then you interject another coin to show them what it would look like if you could change one coin into a different coin, using one hand, then using two hands, and then making that drop motion. I love this effect. And pulling it off is such a great thing because you do it in the hand, right? Because you drop this over to here, and then you've already done this multiple times in the hand. As you drop small motion, you're dropping this coin from here into your hand as you reveal this one, which looks great. Then from here, you're just gonna say, here, why don't we go ahead and look at that in the light as you switch it again. It's a different coin up here, and then you pretend as you get up here that you've dropped it, and now it's switched again to a different coin. Now, obviously, I dropped it out of frame, but when you're standing in front of an audience of people, and you've got this motion of this coin's dropping behind this hand, and you go to catch it, but it falls through the hand as you catch it over here, switching it to a different coin. It's a very deceptive switch that you have to really, if somebody has a quick eye, they'd actually be able to see the coin dropping here, and if your timing's off, they'll see this coin because this one's dropping from here to here, but this one's only dropping from here to, say, here as you're switching hands. So you're doing two different things at once. So I really love the deception of that as you build up to that final moment of the hand wash, and then first they're like, you know that you're just switching it, but the deceptiveness of this move as you come back down, you instantly throw this up once you've switched it out to the other one to get that movement circular back up into the air so that you can go into your shuttle pass for a nice little switch. And now they know the same thing is still happening, but this motion here is that now they're following the fact that they're only seeing the one coin. So now they think that that coin has vanished, but they don't know when it happened. So when you can get this motion going to drop it into the hand to show that this coin is in fact by itself, now you're simply going to place it over here, pull up those sleeves, however you want to do it, and then I like the idea of taking it from one hand to the other, and now it's vanished because at the end, you've made the coin appear magically at the beginning. You didn't just say, I have a coin. You make that coin appear out of nowhere, right? Then at the end, your hands are empty once again. And as that is the finishing of that coin routine, I hope you guys enjoyed that little mini lecture on a coin routine and how we can start applying that idea to this. Now, it's not fully flushed out. It does need some patter added to it, which I have pieces of patter that I will have to revitalize and use in context of this book how to make that routine stronger. Or we can scrap the idea of it being some sort of test, which initially kind of comes across as like, I have two coins. Let's see if you can tell when I switch it and all of that. Because now they're just, you're burning one hand here, like, oh, you've just switched it in your hand. Now it comes across to here. And so now they're just following the other coin is still clearly in the hand. But what I liked about that premise initially is that I'm telling you what I'm doing. So the puzzle is not a mystery. The mystery and excitement of the performance is from the fact that I can even do it in the first place. That I can tell you what I'm doing and yet still surprise you at those little moments. Like, I'm not trying to fool us. I'm not trying to do it in such a way that makes it seem like I'm doing something crazy. Like, all I'm trying to do is say, I can still entertain you even if you know how it's done with two coins. This is my 2-for-1 special. This is how I make two coins look like one. And you go back and forth through this circular motion, and then you end with no coins whatsoever. And I feel like it's just this beautiful climactic moment where these switches are being used to, one, practice your dexterity, but two, it's done in such a way to build tension with your audience to help them understand that perspective is everything. Because it always comes back to that. My biggest show that I want to work on in the background is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half talking about how perspective matters. Singular magic tricks will be used to build this throughout the show, but the ultimate idea is that in everything that we do in life, perspective matters. Not only your perspective, but everybody's perspective, and a subjective and objective perspective matters congruently for all of us to build all the pieces that we need to go through our lives. So, with that, we're going to conclude the first part of Chapter 4. Thank you, everybody, for coming along for the journey. Don't forget, sponsored book giveaway. I've already purchased the book for the giveaway. All you got to do is help donate a little bit of money so that we can get this ball moving along. Thank you, everybody, and remember, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome. And hopefully, we see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And, of course, check out the video that's just for you. Yeah, just for you. Ta-da!